So welcome to Anatomy and Physiology, where I'm just going to walk through the course, and please feel free to interrupt me anytime with any questions that you may have or any comments, okay? So the very first thing is the syllabus. If you get a chance to print the syllabus out, it's about like 7 pages. It's very long, and that's because it has like all the policies, all the deadlines, due dates, and everything in it. So the syllabus is something that you want to have real close to you. And oftentimes when students have questions, and what I'll do is that, instead I could answer you, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer you to the syllabus. I'll say, oh, it's in the syllabus, go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so please don't be offended if I do that. I do know the answer, but I just want you to go to the source to find that information because I'm a teacher and that's what teachers do, okay? All right. So essentially this course is 15 weeks long. It's going to divide into 4 main units. The first unit is introductory, and a lot of foundation information that you will need to fully grasp before you can move on to the other 3 units, okay? So the first unit includes intro, chem, cells, tissues, and integumentary, or the skin. And that happens to be the unit, the topics or the chapters that will be your first exam set as well. The second unit is on the skeletal system, joints, muscles, and nervous. It seems like very little, like only 4, but it's actually quite intense. Muscles and nervous, in my experience of teaching this class for like 25 years, students struggle the most on. So it seems little, but it's actually quite a lot. And that's why we try to make it a little bit lighter by only having those 4 chapters, because I know that those last 2 chapters are quite intense, okay? So the second unit makes up your second set of exams. Then the third unit is the cardiovascular system, which includes the blood, the heart, and blood vessels, the respiratory, and digestive. Okay? And then the final unit is the urinary, endocrine, and reproductive, both male and female. So that's the layout of what this class looks like. So it covers the majority of the body systems in a very kind of general way. It won't feel general, but if you ever look at the textbook, it's gonna be very surface information. And that's why it's called general anatomy and physiology. If you ever have to take advanced anatomy and physiology, we'll go back to the same body systems, but with more detail, a lot more physiology than you get in this course, okay? In terms of resources, your main resource is Canvas, and on Canvas, you'll find all of the materials, the lecture videos, the lecture PDFs, the lecture outlines, the lecture scripts, as well as the lab materials, the lab videos, and the lab PDFs, okay? Now, I'm trying something new this term to match with the anatomy and physiology course that's being taught on campus, face-to-face, and that's by using the ebook. So in the past, if you had me last term, I had students get the physical book, but this year we're moving to the ebook, and the ebook is cheaper. And that's why, we're going to switch to it. So everyone is enrolled in the ebook. If you already have a physical book, you can opt out of it. Okay, you are being charged for it. You already have been charged for the ebook. Okay, so you don't have to make any more additional costs to it. You've already been charged it. But if you do have a book, though, you can opt out of it, and then they will deduct that amount that they charge your account for that ebook. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through where your ebook is. I know a lot of you were trying to look for it and couldn't find it, and that's because it didn't appear until the first day of course, which technically is today. Okay, so let me share my screen. Let's start in this one. All right. Can you see my full screen?
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate the responses because sometimes I don't know what you can see, what you can't see. All right. So here's the home page for the Canvas page. So when you get here, you'll see this first winter 2024 general anatomy and physiology. So if you just go down to this tab right here where it says course materials. Under course materials, this is where your ebook is. This is your textbook right here. So you can click on read now, And it will allow you to go to whatever chapter, whatever page you want to read. And a lot of things that you can do on here could be including highlighting the content. So let's go to the next. Let's go to, for example, page. So the intro information. So your book is online essentially. So you can have access to it anywhere you go. So that's what it would look like. And you can highlight it, the content as you're reading it. You can make notes as well. So let's say squamous nucleus. Notes, add note and say that the nucleus is the control center of cell. Okay. So that's how I would recommend you use your ebook. And because of these features, that's also why I prefer this over a physical book, because if you highlight your physical book and write notes in your book, then it's harder to return your physical book, where here you can highlight without any cost or damage. Okay. So there's probably a lot more functions to the ebook as well, but these are the basic ones that I want you to be aware of. Questions? Okay. So that's your ebook. Another place you want to go to is your syllabus. Okay, like I said, it's quite long because I try to put everything you need to know about this course in it. When you do things, when things are due, what's the policy in it? For example, you're only allowed to take your exams once, where you're allowed to take your quizzes twice. Okay, when you can take it, when it's available. And I also include my cell phone number in case you need to text me. So if something urgent happens and you need to contact me right away, go ahead and text me. You can also email me. If I don't respond to you in email within 24 hours, that's most like what happened is that I get so many emails and your email just got buried in with the others. So please contact me again. Okay, don't feel like, oh, I already contacted her once, I don't want to bother her again. No. If you haven't heard from me within 24 hours, bother me again. Definitely contact me. Okay. And my cell phone is particularly useful if you're taking the exam or quizzes and something happens, you're like, what am I going to do? Just send me a text. That's probably the fastest way for me to know what's going on and check to see what is going on and get back to you. Let's see. So that's the syllabus. Then the other important place is the announcements. Okay, I send out weekly announcements. Okay, so check this every week. Okay, the weekly announcements are very detailed. They tell you what we're doing for that week. So here's the sample, the first one, week 1. So you can see that in week 1, there's some background information that this class is 4 credits with lab. So the expected workload is about 8 to 10 hours a week. It's a lot. Okay, so if you're only planning to spend like an hour or 2 in this course, and if you don't have a really strong science background, it's not a good idea. You won't be successful because this class is very intense and needs about 8 to 10 hours per week of studying. Okay. In terms of communication, week 1, what are you doing in week 1? Definitely read the syllabus, record all the assignments and due dates in your calendar, take the practice quiz. The practice quiz is no points. You can open it, take it anytime, as many times as you want. It's just to make sure that your computer is compatible with the respondent's lockdown and webcam. Okay. And then to start with this week with module 1 and 2, which is introduction in chemistry. Okay. And then recommendations on how to study for week 1 for lecture, watch the video, take notes, use your notes and the script to rewrite your notes. using the outline. And then there's a worksheet that you can do that I highly recommend it. And sometimes it's actually required as an assignment. But if it's not, you should still do it anyway. So it's a good way to kind of figure out what you know from what you don't know. Okay. Then for lab, make sure you download or print the lab PDF. Use your textbook to complete the activity 1 through 4. Watch the lab video, make flashcards to memorize the terms, and then complete assignment 1, the time management and cognitive map by Friday, 11 p.m. Take the lecture quiz and lab quizzes by Sunday, 11 p.m. And all of this is based on Central Standard Time. Okay. So every week I send out this weekly email kind of walking you through really detailed as to kind of like what we'll be doing for that week and how I recommend you approach that week. Okay. Then you go to modules, and the modules is also divided by week. So here's all the materials that you need for week 1. Here's what you need for week 2, week 3, and so on. Okay. Any questions so far?
I have a question about labs.
Yes,
Is there a lab kit we're supposed to order, or are all materials just like at home stuff?
all the materials are online actually. So
Okay.
let me go back to that page. So
Thank
let's
you.
go to module 1. Module 1 has a lab. So you what we did is that instead of putting the cost on having to buy something and ship it, it's already on here. So this is what you need for a lab. Okay. So all pretty much for lab, what you'll need is the PDF and the your textbook.
Great. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah. I should say, when you post the weekly announcements? Oh, that's a great question, Hannah. So the weekly announcements, if they're already on there, I set them to release, I think on Sunday. Let me check. Go back here. Let's go out of student view. So I think I set all of them to release on Sunday. So January 21st, Sunday. Yeah. So they'll be released on Sunday for that following Monday through Saturday. Let's see what else. Okay. Other questions? Great questions, by the way. Okay. So then I've also made supplemental video. So I teach this class in person as well. And when I was teaching this in person, I made videos of my courses. So I attached those videos for all of you to use. So if you kind of want more of an in-class person experience, I do have the in-class videos. Unfortunately, I didn't start recording them until COVID hit, which is the second half of the term. So I have videos for the second half of the term. I do have supplemental videos at the first half, but they're not of the actual in-class version. Okay. But you'll get access to the second half when I did start recording them. And then the worksheets are something I really highly recommend you doing. And then there's a lot of external resources like Khan's Academy. And if you find any resources that are really helpful to you, share them with me and I'll share them with the rest of the class. You know, it's only when we work together we can be really successful. So if you find anything, let me know and I'll share it with the rest of the class. Okay. So let's go through the assignments. Okay. So one of the assignments is the discussion video assignments. And your discussion videos, there's 4 discussion videos peppered throughout the course. And for these, they're worth 10 points. Okay, late assignments will not be great because you have a full week to do them. Make sure you post them on Canvas. If you're not able to post them on Canvas, email me with them and they will be considered as on time. Okay. Begin your video with your name, the date, the topic that you're presenting on. The content is worth 4 points. You have to be narrating it because the best way to learn something is to teach it to somebody. So you have to narrate it, so that's worth 2 points. You also have to include a visual. The visual has to be originally created by you, okay? Because that shows me that you can summarize what you know about that content into an image. So it could be something that you build, like in the past, students build models of the cells. Or you can draw the cell, so there are a lot of different things that you could do to include visuals, okay? And that's worth 2 points. And then you just have to watch and provide feedback on 2 other videos, your peer videos, and that's worth 2 points, okay? So the assignments that include the discussions are relatively, they're pretty easy to do. They're just kind of making sure that you are processing the content well enough. And it also helps you watch how other students process their content, because I can teach you something, but it doesn't click as much as maybe your student, your peer teaches you it. So that's why it's nice to watch another video. Okay. Let's see. So that's the discussion assignment. You also have weekly quizzes. You have quizzes every week. You have a lab and lecture quiz every week, except for when you have exams. Okay? So make sure you know you have quizzes every week, except for when you have an exam. So the lecture and lab quizzes are open all week. They open from Monday all the way to Sunday. And because they're open all week, there is no makeup or retakes. Okay, so make sure you do not miss the exams. I'm sorry, the quizzes. Okay? The quizzes require what's called the Respondus Lockdown browser. Okay? You might as well get used to it because all of your other OTA courses uses this browser. Okay. I have put webcam on your quizzes, but it is optional. So you don't have to use the webcam. The reason why I put the webcam on your quizzes is because if you want to get used to being able to use the webcam, you can use them on these quizzes. The webcams are required on your exams. Okay, so webcams are required on exams. They're optional on the quizzes in case you want to start using it to get used to it. Okay, there should be no password required. If it is required though, because in the past, maybe when I started teaching this like 7 years ago, I did have a password requirement and somehow that setting sometimes glitches and reverts back to that setting. If it requires a password, it's always going to be anatomy, all lowercase. Okay, so if it ever requires a password, it's going to be anatomy, all lowercase. It should not require a password, but if it does, it is anatomy, all lowercase. Okay. Your lecture quizzes are going to be on the current week's lecture modules. It's 10 multiple choice questions. Your lab quizzes will be on the current week's lab modules, and it's 10 write in or type in identification questions. So you actually have to type in the answer. Okay. So there's a chat. Let me check the chat. Where can we get more information on how to get respondents? Oh, perfect question. So the Respondus Lockdown browser, when you go to the practice quiz, okay, there's going to be a little button that says Respondus Lockdown. So you click on that and it will initiate the Respondus browser lockdown download. Okay, so if you go to the practice quiz, and then in the practice quiz, there's going to be a little button below that says Respondus Lockdown browser is required. Then you click that and it will start the download for you. Okay. Once it downloads, if you've never used the browser before, once it downloads, okay, you open the browser and it's an internet platform, okay? So you open the browser and it's just like your Firefox or Google Chrome. And then you go into Canvas and then you can take your quiz on the lockdown browser. The lockdown browser essentially prevents students from like Googling what the answer is, for example. So it forces you to stay on that screen until you're done. Okay? And that's why most of the assessments on lockdown browser. Okay. Let's see. Are we required to only use a computer with a webcam for exams? Yes. Okay. So you are required to use a computer with webcam for exams. Yep. What else? So no makeup or retakes on the quizzes because they're open all week long. There is a practice quiz for you to use, and that practice quiz is literally a practice quiz you can use anytime. And usually what I recommend is that when students are taking a quiz on a different new computer, you try to take the practice quiz first just to make sure that you can, that the computer is set up for that, okay? Because again, the practice quiz you can take as many times, it's worth no points, it's just to make sure that your computer, whatever computer you're at, is set up for respondents left and right. Okay. Now, I can't stress this enough. The quizzes are very low points. They're only worth 10 points. That's like less than, the lab quizzes is only like 0.5% of your grade. And the lecture quizzes are like 1% of your grade. So it's not a lot percentage of your overall grade at all. And that's because I want you to be able to assess how you're doing on a weekly basis instead of waiting until the very end, until the exams to kind of go, oh no, I didn't study this, okay? So use your quizzes as a review, a tool to review. So you can go back to the quizzes that you've taken as many times, anytime that you want. It does require the Respondents Lockdown browser to see those quizzes, but you can always go back and look at them and say, oh, I wonder why I got that wrong. Did I study it? If I didn't, then I need to make sure I have more things in my notes. Or did I study it, but I didn't understand it? In which case, then I need to work on the comprehension. Or I studied it and knew it, but I just answered it wrong on the quiz, so it might be a test taking issue. Okay, so use the quiz as a learning tool. Go back to it often and kind of evaluate why you got the questions you got wrong. And what is the right questions? Because you may see something very similar to it. It's not going to be the same, but you may see something very similar to it on the exams. Okay, questions? So you can see the breakdown right here. We have, actually, this is not updated, so I need to update this. This should be assignments. And you have 11 assignments. And the lowest one is dropped, and it is worth 10%. And I think these have shifted to 10%. Let me update this, and when I email this to you, I will email you the updated version in terms of the breakdown. Your syllabus is correct though, so let's look at your syllabus. There you go. There you go. All right. So the assignments, 11 at 10 points each. The lowest one is dropped. They're worth 10% of your grade. Lecture quizzes, you have 11 of them at 10 points each. The lowest one is dropped. So you can see that they really are just 1% of your grade. Very little. Your exams, however, are higher. Okay, so your exam 1, 2, 3 are worth 10% each of your grade, so 30%. And then your final exam, which essentially is exam 4 plus a comprehensive portion, totaling 20%. And then for your lab, the lab quizzes, there's 11 at 10 points each. They're worth 5% total. Okay, so you can see very little percentage. Your exam 1, 2, or 3 are 5% each, and then your final exam is worth 10% of your grade. So that's the breakdown. Okay. Questions? There you go. Now it's active. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So I walked through the Canvas page with you already, but there are a couple things I want to let you know, okay? So one, you can set the notification so that if anything changes on Canvas, like for example, I released your score or I put up an announcement, you can receive an email when that happens, or it will text you as well, okay? So you can set up notifications so that it notifies you through either email or text. Okay, I have mine set to text so that anything that happens on Canvas, and text that information, so I get it right away. Okay. Then one other thing I want you to know is you can email me through Canvas, but I don't always get it right away. So it's best to email me directly through your St. Kate's account. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so here, you see this little button right here where it says inbox? So you can email me through here, but for some reason there's a delay. I don't get it right away, okay? So the best way to do is to email me directly through St. Kate's email, okay? Dashboard. So those are two things. One, set the notification so that you can either be emailed or text if any changes that happen in Canvas. And if you're going to email me, make sure you email me through your St. Kate's email rather than the Canvas inbox. I kind of walked through what your Canvas looks like already. I told you about the syllabus. All the information you seek is most of the time going to be in your syllabus, okay? And announcements are great. That's where I'll put my weekly announcements, as well as when it's the exam week, I'll put up a preparing for exam and study guide as well. Your modules look like this. You've already seen them. I walked you through them. Module 1, module 2, kind of whatever you need to do is all lumped in that one week. Each module contains objectives, lecture component and lab component, and then the navigation. Okay, the lecture component, you can find the outline. And the first set of outlines are very detailed because it's showing you an example of what your outline should look like. But the other outlines are a lot more thinner because it's your job to kind of fill them in, okay? The PowerPoints are what we use on the videos. The script are the actual narrations, in case it's hard to understand or follow audioly, you can see it visually. And then there's the video of the lecture as well, okay? It does say read the textbook pages here. The textbook pages are maybe a little bit off since I switched to the ebook. So in terms of reading the textbook pages, give me some time to update that. It's not the most important thing anyways. To be honest, all of your test questions, all the content is found in this set of information right here. Because remember what I said, this class is a general anatomy physiology, not advanced. So it only covers like the first half of the content anyways, where the textbook kind of goes through everything. Okay, so you might be a little overwhelmed if you read the textbook. I never say don't read the textbook because the more information you get, the better. But if you're kind of just trying to meet just this class's outline goals, this content that I provide you here is what we will be closed on. Not so much as anything that you can find in the reading pages. Okay, so the quiz and exam questions are focused on these materials that I provide on Canvas specifically. Then for lab, you have the PDF. Make sure you do the PDF. You print them out. I recommend either printing them out or downloading so that you can write on it. And then watching the lab video. Questions?
Professor, how do we set the notifications on the, I forgot.
Canvas?
Yes.
Yep. So notifications, let me see. It's been a while for me as well. I think it's under settings. And then feature options, navigation sections. Maybe it's in this. Here we go. So if you go to account notifications. Okay. So right here, you have the option of being notified in however way you want. So by email, I've chosen email. You can choose text, whatever you want. Okay. So if you go under your account notification, and then you can choose how you want to be notified.
Thank you.
Okay. So you can see some I have as email, some I have as text. So you can choose. Great question. All right. And then there's also a navigational portion that has like extra videos, because sometimes students just need a little bit more guidance. This is the page to go to. Then in terms of like a weekly schedule, I would recommend that it's a lot of content. You don't want to wait until the last minute. It's just a lot of content. So you need to let your brain process the information. So present it, go through the materials Monday through Tuesday, actively study it and process the information Wednesday through Thursday. Do your worksheets, any assignments on Friday, and then on Saturday, take the quizzes. Okay, so this is kind of how I would recommend doing it. Bring it down on a weekly basis. The earlier you get exposed to the materials, the better, because it allows your brain to process it. Okay. All right. Any questions? The rest of the time is for you to ask any questions that you'd like.
Can you go back to that slide 12? Thank you.
And I'll email you these slides, this PowerPoint as well. So the key is to study as actively as you can, because research shows that if you read something only, in 2 weeks, you're only going to remember about 25% of it. But if you actively study it, for example, make cognitive maps or write your notes, actively study the material, then you're more likely to remember it by like 50 to 70%. Okay. So think of any way you can actively study the material instead of just reading it or listening to it. All right, so hopefully you're able to navigate the course better. And if any questions does pop up, just send me an email. Send me an email, send me a text.
What are some other good forms of studying you would recommend other than like flashcards or?
Yeah, there's lots of cognitive ways to study materials, and it's going to be different for each student. So what I have you do in the very first assignment is share kind of what you do that works for you. So maybe something that a student shares clicks with you. So for example, in the past, students say Quizlet, instead of having the physical flashcards to flip through, you use Quizlet. Some students draw out the model and then label and then write their notes on there. Some students, students come up with a lot of good ways to study for this class. So watch that video of your peers. The very first video has each other sharing their study strategies. And I'll also share strategies that I've used when I took this class, in the days, as well as put up some strategies that are recommended for this course as well. It's going to be different depending on the content.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Worksheet? Professor, do he have to send you the worksheet?
The worksheets? Are you asking about the
Yes,
worksheets?
the one we download, we have to send it to you.
Ah, okay.
Do we have to send it to you?
No. So let's go to that. Let's go to assignments. So here are the assignments. The assignment 1 is the time management and cognitive map. By the way, Xavier, this is one of the study things that I would recommend. So if you download it, fill it out, make sure you read the directions carefully so that you fill it out completely. Here's one study method. Instead of having the content be in blocks of words and like paragraphs, you can divide up into tables that help you remember better. So when you put things into tables like this is called a cognitive map. It allows you to see a visual of it and be able to connect it and pull the information out. Like for example, in terms of carbohydrates, there are 3 types. There's monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. And then you would fill these out. Okay. So Emilus, you would fill this out
Yes.
and then you would upload it to Canvas and submit it to me. Some students print it out and then
Oh.
they have a PDF program where they just use their phone to take pictures of it, you know, as a
Okay.
a PDF. Okay? So if you're uploading something that you've printed out and you've written on, make sure that you upload it as a PDF, all in one file, because it's harder for me to grade when it's like image by image by image by image. Okay, so there's
Okay.
an app on the phone that allows you to pull all the images together into one PDF. Okay, so do that.
Okay.
So this is your first
Read
assignment.
it, work on it, and I upload it to Canvas.
Yes. Yep. So
Okay.
you can do it online,
Thank
or you
you.
can do it on your computer device by like typing in and then saving it and then uploading it back to Canvas, or you can print it out, physically write on it, and then take pictures of it, make it into PDF, and then upload that. So there's multiple ways of doing things.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay. If you do have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, I'll stay behind for any questions you would have. I'm gonna stop the, wait, hold on a second. There's some things in the chat. Let's see. Do you recommend anatomy, physiology, coloring books? I'm a visual learner, so for me, I did have them when I was going through this class. So the coloring books did help me significantly. So, but it's up to each student is different. Okay. If you have an iPhone, you can, yes. Thank you, Felicia. If you have an iPhone, you can scan it in your notes and then make it into PDF. Yep. In your notes app. There you go. Notes app. Thank you. Anything else? Yeah, it's things like that. Just share with each other and make our lives easier. So yeah. If you share it with me, I'll share it with the rest of them. All right, so I'm gonna stop recording.